Hey, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to build out your essential programmer's toolkit. We're going to dive into the fundamental logic that really makes your code smart, efficient, and dynamic. So let's get right into it.
So think about it for a second. A really basic script. It just runs from top to bottom, right? It's like a car on a perfectly straight road with no turns. But that's not how things work, is it? The real world is full of choices, forks in the road, and detours. So the big question is, how do we get our code to think? How do we give it the power to make decisions and choose its own path based on what's happened? Okay, so the first tools we're going to pull out and put in our kit are all about making decisions. You can think of these as the building blocks that give our programs a kind of brain, letting them evaluate situations and then act on them. And really, at the heart of all this decision-making is one core idea: the conditional statement. It's basically just a fork in the road for your code. It asks a simple question that has a true or false answer, and that answer decides which way the code goes next. This is the fundamental way a program stops being dumb and starts responding to the world around it. So let's look at the most basic, most fundamental tool for this job, the good old if-else statement. It's super intuitive, you'll see. The code just looks at the condition you give it. Is it true? Okay, do this thing. Is it false? No problem. Do this other thing instead. Simple as that. It's your classic fork in the road. Okay, but what happens when you have, more than just two choices? You could totally chain a bunch of if-else-if statements together, but man, that can get really messy really fast. This is where the switch statement comes in. It's a much cleaner tool for when you're checking one variable against a whole list of possible values. It makes your code way easier to read because it just screams, hey, I'm picking one option out of many based on this single thing. And you know what's cool? This tool just got a major upgrade. With modern Java, we now have something called switch expressions. They use this really slick arrow syntax. It makes your code way shorter, for one. But even better, it gets rid of a super common, super annoying bug. See, with these new arrow cases, you don't need to put a break at the end of each one. That means you can't accidentally fall through into the next case, which used to happen all the time. It's just cleaner, safer, and way more modern. All right, so our code can now make decisions. It's got a brain. Now let's give it some muscle. Let's talk about the real workhorses of programming, loops. These are the tools that save you from the soul-crushing boredom of writing the same code over and over and over again. Seriously, a loop is your secret weapon for getting things done efficiently. You need to process 1,000 files, or maybe check every single pixel in an image. A loop lets you write that logic one time and then tells the computer, hey, you go do this 1,000 times. It is the absolute definition of working smarter, not harder. Now, when your loop is based on some kind of condition, you've got two basic flavors. First up is the while loop. Think of it as the cautious one. It checks the condition before it does anything. If that condition isn't true to begin with, the loop's code won't even run once. Then you have the do-while loop. This one's a bit more act first, ask questions later. It runs the code inside it at least once, and then it checks the condition to see if it should go again. So you're always guaranteed at least one run. But let's be real, the undisputed champion, the one you're going to see everywhere, is the for loop. And the reason it's so popular is its structure. It's just elegant. It puts everything you need, the starting point, the when to stop condition, and the what to do after each time, all neatly bundled into a single readable line. It's so tidy. And if your goal is just to go through every single item in a list or an array, Java gives us an even simpler, more beautiful tool, the for each loop. It's awesome because you don't have to mess with counters or indexes like I equals 0, I++, none of that. You just say, hey, for each thing in this collection, do this. And Java just takes care of all the behind-the-scenes work. Super clean. Okay, so you've got the basics down. You can make decisions, you can repeat actions. Now let's get into some of the more advanced stuff, the pro-level tools. We're going to look at special commands that let you take direct control of your loops while they're running. All right, two super important commands you need to know are break and continue. I like to think of them as little escape hatches for your loops. Break is like pulling the big red emergency stop lever. It kicks you out of the entire loop immediately. Done. Continue is different. It's more like a skip button. It just says, okay, I'm done with this particular run. Let's just skip to the next one. And get this, they have a kind of superpower. Labels. You can actually name your loops. Why?
So if you're deep inside a nested loop, you can use a labeled break to bust out of an outer loop, not just the one you're in. It's some next-level flow control.
So here's a classic example for break. You set up what looks like an infinite loop, while true. But inside, you're searching for something. The second you find it, bam, you hit break and you're out. The loop stops. This is a super common pattern for search algorithms. And this is where those labels I mentioned become so powerful. Imagine this whole search was happening inside another, bigger loop. A normal break only gets you out of the inner loop, but a labeled break, that could let you blow past both of them at once. That's real control.
And continue is just perfect for filtering or skipping bad data. So you're looping through a bunch of stuff, and you hit a record you don't care about, maybe it's invalid or just blank. Instead of wrapping all your good logic inside a big if block, you can do the opposite. At the very top of your loop, you check for the bad stuff. If you find it, you just say continue, and it immediately jumps to the next item. This keeps your main code really clean and not nested so deep. It's a great pattern. Okay, time for a little pop quiz. This is a classic gotcha that trips up almost every new programmer at some point. Look really closely at this code. What do you think it prints? The obvious answer seems to be that it prints hello 5 times, right?
Well, surprise! It only prints hello one single time. This, my friends, is the infamous spurious semicolon. See that little semicolon right after the parentheses? That thing is the entire body of the loop. The loop is told to do nothing 5 times. And it does. The print line statement isn't even part of the loop. It's just the next line of code that runs after the empty loop is all done. It's amazing how one tiny character can totally change what your code does.
All right, let's just pause for a second and look at the awesome toolkit we've put together. It's really only a handful of commands, but with them, we've unlocked the power to build some seriously complex and intelligent programs.
So this is it. This is your core set of tools for controlling the flow of your code. You've got if and switch to make decisions, you've got while and for to do things over and over, and you've got break and continue to fine-tune that repetition. Honestly, with just these building blocks, you can figure out the logic for almost any problem you can think of.
You see, these tools are what change programming from just a list of boring instructions into the art of creating smart, dynamic, and powerful software. This is the language of logic. So now that you've got the toolkit, the real question is, what are you going to build with it?